I'm Alexander Slemmer, and this is the Astonishment Project Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about Maurice Fogel, In Search of the Sensational. This is a brand new book that just came out from Hermetic Press, and production qualities are up to their usual standards. It is a beautiful book with photos all the way through, and a nice little touch. They put a ribbon for a bookmarker. Not everybody does that kind of a thing. There's also an index, which is a trend in magic that I like to see, and I'd love to see more of it. So there's an index in this wonderful book. I'm very happy about that. So let's talk a little bit about Maurice Fogel. This book starts out basically as the history of Maurice Fogel, and it was his son-in-law and his daughter got together with another magic aficionado. They put their heads together and really tried to put out the best representation of this man that they all admired, Maurice Fogel. And this is based on writings of Maurice and other people that were brought into play, and a lot of his old marketed effects were also put into this book. There are over 30 items that are explained in this thing, so you're getting a ton of material in this book. The one thing that you really are getting here that you really don't get from a lot of magic books is you get his voice. The guy's not around anymore. He lived from 1911 until 1981, and all that was left were the memories, the stories, the notebooks that he left behind. And this has been all compiled into this beautiful book that really tells the tale of what this man was like, what happened in his professional career from the time he started until pretty much the time he passed. And it's interesting to note that when Maurice Fogel started, he was not doing mentalism. He was doing magic on stage, cut and restored rope, these kind of things. And he had to add extra time, and he had this vision of doing mentalism as we now know it, but no one had really done it. He claims that he's the first mentalist to ever perform in England, which I think is a very interesting thing myself. He had to basically step up to the plate and create this character and fill the shoes of someone who had never been before, and I think that's a very interesting thing, and that's one of the things that you get out of the histories. You get a real sense of all the things that he had to really accomplish, the mountains he had to climb to make this career start and become what it did. There are some things that you should know about Maurice Fogel. He was the king of getting publicity. He knew how to take an effect and present it to newspaper people, to the press, and basically get them to do free promotion for him, to talk about the things that he was doing and promote the shows that he was doing. But these things that he did were death-defying things. They were very sensational type of things. For instance, bullet catching. He would have someone aim at his teeth and he would catch the bullet, and it would be a marked bullet. The casing was marked, the bullet was marked, and he would catch it and spit it out onto a plate. And he pushed it further than anybody else. At one point he got it up to 6 bullets that he was catching. So that's a pretty amazing thing. He pushed it even further and did an effect called Russian roulette, and many mentalists have played with this idea, and I think that Maurice was the first one to do this type of thing with it. He had 6 rifles. They were all sitting in a stand. He would have the stand spin around. A gunman would come up and pick up a rifle, shoot one bullet off, put the rifle back in the stand, and spin the stand, and now there were cards placed on each of the rifles. 6 rifles, each with a number. And Maurice Fogel was able to predict which rifle would not have the bullet in it, and then ask marksmen to pick up all the other guns and basically prove that they were a loaded gun, and the one gun that was left, the one that did not get pointed at his head, now gets pointed at his head, and nothing happens because there's no bullet. It was the one gun that didn't have the bullet. High tension, something that obviously is going to get you a lot of publicity, and he used this to his advantage while he was in the military performing, while he performed for laymen, when he went to different countries to perform. He used these sensational type of things. Another one, cheating the gallows. He had these ropes that he would hang on a big hook above him, and he was able to predict which one would be the one that would snap free, because one of the ropes had a break-free mechanism on it. All the other ones were real ropes. It would be a hangman's noose around his neck, and he would jump off, ready to face death if he had to. But with these kind of effects where you're cheating death, obviously you're going to get attention, and that was what Maurice was a master of. I have a quote here I want to offer from Maurice that I think is very important, and this is something that if you are well read in magic, you've probably heard this information before, but I think it's important to say it again, and it's beautifully laid out in this book. And here it is for you. The mechanics of any effect don't really matter. The effect and presentation mean everything. This is the only part the audiences know about. It is the important thing to them. And so it should be to you. So this was a guy who really had his priorities straight in terms of being a performer. He was a showman. It was about creating fantastical effects, and he was a master of it. This book gives you the details so that you can now further yourself as a mentalist or just a showman. The trail has been laid out by this fine man, Maurice Fogel. I highly recommend that you read this book. I had a lot of enjoyment from it, and I imagine I'll be revisiting this from time to time, as will you. Thanks again.